Hey, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to go over some new nodes that were added recently in a recent build by myself to Neos. As I'm now on the Neos team, I can sometimes do that. So I added a few nodes to make your life easier when it comes to date time displays and things like that. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. In some regards, this one supersedes a previous video, which I'll link in the video description, where I went over how to do a local time display. So you can use these nodes pretty much in place of those ones. So I'm going to mark that, that previous video as outdated, but I'm not going to delete it because there's still some good learnings there on how to do sort of addition, subtraction, etc. with those date time nodes, which I probably won't cover in the same way here. I'll cover them a little bit, but just for learning's sake, we'll leave that one there, but mark it as outdated. Let's go ahead and take a look. I don't have anything prepared ahead of time. We're just going to build it live, and that's because it's really simple, and that's what I've done with these new nodes. I've made it quite simple to get exactly what you need. So let's go ahead and take a look. If I go over here into Spoof POV and I equip my logic step here, we're going to open up the node browser and we're going to go to math DateTime, which is where these nodes exist. So the first thing that you'll notice is that we have this new user time node. Well, it might not be the first thing that you notice, depends if you've been in math DateTime before. It's a lovely folder, please do take a look at it. If you want to do any DateTime maths, math DateTime is your friend, as is math timespan. So here we have user time. I'll go ahead and spawn the other ones and then we'll go through them in turns. We've got local user time offset, user time offset, where are we? Here it is. And then we've got kind and set kind as well, which we'll explain separately. They're a little bit harder to explain. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with user time. Now, user time will output the local user time of the user which you place into it. So before you could only do this for only local users and anyone looking at it would see a different value. But now that we've got a user input to the user time node, you can actually put any user in. As I'm on my own here in this world, you're only going to be able to put me in, but if you're in a populated world, free to put in any user and you'll see their local time. So I'm going to go ahead and hit host user and chuck that in, and then you'll see 1540, and that is my local time zone. The same thing here works with the user time offset node. This will output the difference between UTC and my time zone. In this case, I live in Pacific, so you're seeing -7. Daylight savings mean that this would usually be -8, but it's currently -7. UTC and daylight savings are weird and don't agree. I was speaking to Nami, who lives in Iceland, who just, the country Iceland, not Nami themselves, although good on them for living in Iceland and catering to this. Iceland decided to just go with UTC, so they don't have any daylight savings or anything like that. They're just UTC. So their user time offset is just 0, and it's quite interesting seeing that. For anyone else, it'll probably be sort of +1, -1 if you're sort of near the UTC line. Otherwise, if you're in America, it's -5 to -8, depending on what time of day it is and what year it is and all sorts of stuff like that. Time zones are fun here. But that gets you a time span. You can use that in a similar way to the previous video where I did minus and positive and stuff like that with that. If we go to operators and we go to plus, we can go ahead and chuck this in and it'll say, hey, put a date time in, add the offset, and you'll get the time in their time zone. So I can put in UTC now and I can plus the -7 and you'll see I'll get the 1541 out. There's also local user time offset here. Local user time offset will just return the local user's time offset. This node is just sort of, for the local user again. I wanted to provide completeness with the other local user nodes. I might actually need to move that one to time span. If we do, I'll update you there. I don't really know why I put it in date time, but we'll see. So that's the new nodes in the time area. I did want to show you again, just in case you're watching this one from the previous video or you haven't watched the previous video, how to then format that into a string. So we go ahead and go to string and then go to format. And then we're going to stick in my user time into the first input to format. We're going to get rid of all of this just to clean up just a little bit here. And with that in the first input to format, actually the second technically, we can add the format string to the top here. If you're not quite sure how the format node works, I do have a video on the format node. You can find that linked in the video description. So here we need to enter, and I'll put this in the video description as well. I've just memorized it because I'm freakish like that. We need to do HH colon MM colon SS space TT. And that will get us the time with a AM PM designator. So you see here 3:42 PM, which is what this is in AM PM or 12-hour clocks. If you don't want to use 12-hour clocks, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and back up here and get rid of the TT. TT stands for the AM PM designator. Then go back to where it says HH and change it to capital H, and you'll get the 24-hour clock time there as well. So there you go, that's how to format it, and that's a lot easier than it was in the previous video. Go ahead and watch that previous video. It's linked in the video description to take a look at that one. There are a couple more nodes I did want to cover. So they are the kind node and the set kind node. They're a little bit harder to explain. I'll go ahead and try my best effort on them. I'm still looking at them and dealing with some intricacies that we've got sort of not wrong, but weird in Neos that may come in a future update. So the kind is a property of a DateTime, which specifies like, hey, what do we think this is? And so you'll see for most DateTime operations, you'll end up with what this thing is called unspecified. And that basically means, hey, we're not quite sure. And that's because the options for kind are local, UTC, and unspecified. So when you're using the user time node, it could be any user. So it can't be local, because local means it's the DateTime kind, which is your local time, as in my computer, as in the time zone that my computer is in. Even though this is me in this case, we're not certain of that. That's why kind comes out as unspecified here. But you'll see that if we go ahead and we put in the input of UTC now, you'll see that the kind comes out as UTC. And then if we do math DateTime to local time here, I believe this happens actually. I haven't tested this one. Yep, there we go. That one then specifies as local time, which is the local time in my computer's language. So those are the three kind values: unspecified, UTC, and local. You don't really have to worry about them too much. They're just needed for some sort of edge cases and things like that, so we provided nodes for them. There is also a set kind node that will just output a DateTime with the kind set to how you'd like, so you can set it to unspecified, UTC, or local. I'll put some documentation from Microsoft's website on how the kind property works there. I know that's sort of hard to explain why it's there. It's to do with serialization and interpretation on how your computer treats these date times. And in some cases, we need that value to be a certain or expected value for them to be formatted correctly in the format node and in pieces of text and other UI within Neos. So that's why it's there, and that's why you can look at it now, and that's why you can also set it, just so that you can play around with it if you need to. That's it for the new DateTime nodes. If you like them, that's great. Leave me a comment. Let me know I did good. I got some feedback from the update notes that said people like them, so thank you so much for that. If you hate them, let me know. Just put a comment in. Say what you'd like to have changed, and we'll take a look at it. We're still working on some DateTime stuff. I'll link a GitHub card in the video description where we talk about sort of some of the DateTime bugs I'm taking a look at. But we're getting better at DateTime. For those who aren't aware, I used to work a lot with DateTime, timing, all sorts of stuff like this. So this is an area where I'm sort of unintentionally passionate about it, so that's why these nodes were something I took a look at. I will see you next time for another video, which is hopefully not about time zones, because I could talk for hours. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.